GTFO is about a group of 4 people trapped in this underground complex, kept there against their will, forced down into the depths to fetch things or carry out different objectives for this unknown entity called the Warden. The underground complex has been abandoned for many years and it's been overrun by flesh-eating, grotesque monsters, and you want to get out of there.
It actually requires you to be in the right mood together, because if they're not, you end up in a Leroy Jenkins situation when somebody's just running into the wrong area and doing the wrong thing.
You have survival horror levels of resources. You're almost always running out of ammunition. You're almost always running out of health. This sets a slower and more deliberate pace than other games you'd be likely to compare GTFO to. There's a lot of emphasis on exploration, stealth, and strategy. If you want to survive, you have to use all your tools and instincts to detect the combat situation before it happens, prepare for it, and control the action. What we experience is that a lot of games that claim to be cooperative really only require the players to fight alongside one another and not really fight together and communicate and coordinate.
If you like a challenge, if you like playing together, if you like solving problems in groups, this game is for you. It is very challenging. It is something that will put a different strain on your team than other games. But if you're up for the challenge, this is something for you.
There's a lot of mysteries in the game. Who are the Warden? What's their agenda? How did you end up in the complex? What was the complex originally built for? Where do the monsters come from? And can you escape? So in GTFO, you play as one of 4 scavengers trapped inside this underground complex. You're held there against your will by some entity called the Warden. You're forced down into the complex every day to carry out different objectives, and you get to keep what you can scavenge from down there that the Warden aren't interested in. The story is not going to be told through a traditional story campaign mode, but rather through the free continuous updates of the game post-release. The 4 characters in GTFO is this sort of ragtag team of non-military game characters. A lot of the equipment is repurposed mining gear. They don't have the best weapons. They're not a special unit. We've created games before where the game characters are talking and bantering between one another. But for GTFO, we really want to take that to the next level. So we have created this proprietary system that can have the characters say different things, and it'll sort of adapt to the current situation and the conditions of the current gameplay session.
Do not move. Sleeper.
Of course, all this work going into the systems would be a waste of time if the dialogue wasn't excellent. So we hired a professional writer to help us out. Adam Gascoigne is writing dialogue for the game, and he's been involved in some fantastic titles. These are characters, after all, that you as a player are going to spend a lot of time with, and it's important that there's things to take from, things to build the relationship on between the characters and between you as a player and the characters.
My name is Ronan Summers. I play Hackett in GTFO. He's an Irish character, and despite being a cynic and a pessimist and all that stuff, he's also the kind of guy that's not going to let you down. He's a fun guy to play, and I think Adam, the writer, got it bang on with the character, and I feel like the character is really well written. It can be hard sometimes with action-y games to find those little character nuggets and really get that side of a three-dimensional human to come through. But I think GTFO has spent a lot of time on making sure that these characters are well designed, and that definitely makes it easier to play as well. Many games these days that I work on tend to have some level of choice or variation in the dialogue, but Very few have quite the level of distinction in the way that the same piece of information can be delivered to a player over and over and over again in so many different ways with so many different permutations, whether they're shouted or whispered or something in between, and depending on context and situation. It's pretty phenomenal. I think all that work is really going to pay off when the game comes out and the players get their hands on it. Fans are in for a treat in terms of just the dialogue system and the work that's gone into it. I think it's going to lead to some real replayability for people to just hammer at this thing for 100 hours on end.
Setting up to do the complex and the whole sort of environmental design, we wanted to create something that had a lot of sort of color to it, not make your average, brown or next-gen gray type art direction. We wanted something that was sort of potent in colors, and we're of course heavily inspired by, Ridley Scott stuff like the first Alien movie and stuff like that. The quality we've managed to get to, we're really happy with, and I think people will sort of appreciate all the work we put down on it in the end, I hope. The sort of style of the environments are purposely picked to sort of start off in something that registers as something natural, normal, something you can understand, something you understand when you look at it, you understand what it is. It's not necessarily too sci-fi or too weird or too... It's actually trying to establish some sort of normal baseline for what the environment was, but also sort of rooted in some sort of reality. And then as players progress through the game, this will of course change and become, I guess, weirder and weirder.
We set out to design something that will freak people out. How do we do that? What are they? They're not zombies. They're not aliens. There's something that's disgusting. When we concepted the creatures, we explored so many different designs on paper. We did the most ridiculous stuff, but we had to get it out of our systems. Like, how do we get the readability out to the players, but also keeping it scary in the horror genre. So we had a lot of crazy ideas that we actually tested out, but didn't really work out. Maybe it got a bit ridiculous. That just didn't work for the setting. Everything kind of ended up being more subtle, actually, which is the difficulties, because we want that readability. We want to communicate clearly. When designing like the disgusting stuff, everything is all in the small details. Is there a twisted face in there, or has the body been decomposed in a weird way that makes you see things move under the skin? And a lot of design actually came together when we did motion captures for the enemies, because we had to really think about how did they move, why did they move the way they did.
There's really no other genre of games or movies where sound is as important as in horror. And for 18 years, as long as I've been working in the game development business, I've been wanting to do a horror game. And finally, the day has come. What we decided to do was start measuring all these little events and actions performed by the players and the monsters, like whether a monster is actually targeting you at the moment, or if you close a door and suddenly that monster doesn't have a line of sight to you, or you're running out of ammo, you're picking up more ammo, your teammate is downed. All these little things that affect your level of stress from second to second will influence the music and change its intensity or mood in subtle ways. And It makes for the most complex and dynamic music system that I've ever been involved with.
From a style standpoint, the GTFO soundtrack is very different from the often empowering and in-your-face music I've done previously. The music in GTFO is much more subtle and conveys a feeling of dread and vulnerability. The way it's implemented with near infinite combinations of random elements makes it unpredictable, and that helps make it very eerie. Weaving the music this tightly into the gaming experience has been a great technical challenge, and I can't wait to see players be absorbed into GTFO with the help of this soundtrack.